Hello everybody. Happy Friday, wherever you are in the world, whatever you're doing. This is my final Q&A session with on social media, on Instagram and Facebook. Welcome if you're just tuning in. I have been answering questions from our members all week, and you'll find if you check out some of the videos that you may have similar questions about drinking, why it feels so hard to stop drinking. When you stop drinking, why do you feel bored? How to deal with triggers, all that kind of stuff. So check out some of the previous videos. And I want to give you the last chance to join the Soberfool Life community that I run. And the reason that I want to invite you in is it's a very, very special community. I created it because I wanted to provide a confidential and private platform where people could access expert and professional help at a low cost. My message is there's more to stopping drinking than stopping drinking. It's not just about quitting drinking and everything's fine, you get on with your life. You wouldn't be here watching this if you hadn't already learned that there's a lot more to that. And you don't know what you don't know, right? If you knew how to stop drinking and you knew how to be really happy and fulfilled in your sobriety, you'd already be doing it. So we have to accept what we don't know. And I saw online there is a lot of misinformation. There's a lot of communities where it's the blind leading the blind. And there's a lot of communities where they're led with people who have they only have their personal experience. They have no expertise and they have no qualifications in addiction work. So I wanted to provide a place where people for low cost could be in a community that was curated by people who have background experience and qualifications in helping people overcome an alcohol problem. And that's what Soberfool Life is. And right now it's $25.99. I know you spent more than that on your drinking. And for that, you get a lot. We have many experts in our community. We have 2 nurses. One nurse does a program on our relationship with food because many people struggle with food and sugar issues when they stop drinking. And that's why we included that. We have a nurse practitioner who does a program for women who are struggling with hormones and biology and how that relates to our moods and how we feel and getting sober. We have myself and Chip. If you've listened to the podcast, we both do monthly workshops in there. Chip is a UK-based psychotherapist. I am a psychotherapist who now works as a coach, and we do monthly workshops. I do a monthly workshop on how to work the 5 pillars of sobriety and bring that to your life as a program. We have Tamra, who's a licensed addictions therapist. She does regular workshops on all kinds of different subjects that are relevant to how we live sober lives. You know, how to have boundaries, deal with relatives, manage our emotions, all that kind of stuff. We have the lovely Yolanda, who does work around self-esteem, how we feel about ourselves, feelings and emotions. She's a licensed mental health worker. And we also have regular daily support meetings where you can just drop in, put your hand up, tell people you're struggling. We have a whole library of previous stuff we've done that you can access too. So the value is enormous. And whatever your question, whatever you're struggling with right now, then that's there's already somebody who's been down that road. And that's the real key difference. And what makes the difference for getting sober is really about having people who are on the path with you, some that are a little bit further ahead, who can say, I felt that, I experienced that happened to me too, and this is what we did, and now it's different, and now I've overcome it, and now I don't feel that way. That will make all of your difference to sobriety. Now I want if you're going to join now, because right now the membership is $25.99, and we are just increasing the price just a little bit, just because we are bringing in more experts and more workshops and meetings and all that kind of stuff. We want to be able to serve you, and we just need to increase the price by a few dollars. So if you're on the fence, join now, give it a go, check it out. You can cancel anytime. I think it would be a better investment of your money than having a drink. Okay, so link is in the comments, link is in the description. Go to soberfool.com, the link is there. But do it now before it closes and we change things, increase the price. Okay, so I have some questions to answer for you. This is a good one. I really like drinking wine, and it's a part of my leisure on holidays and restaurants, etc. It's something I share with my partner too. How do I get past the cravings? Now, I want to say, in answer to this question, this is about perception versus reality. And here's the first thing. Nobody has ever showed up in front of me by accident, ever. Either online or a client or in the real world. I've never had anyone where they have told me about their drinking and I've been like, you're fine. Don't worry about it. That's never actually happened in 20 years. So the sheer fact that you are here means that there's something going on with your drinking. Because people who don't have an issue with alcohol, they don't think about it. It just never crosses their mind. They think about alcohol in the same way I think about sandwiches. I'll have a sandwich today for lunch, I'll enjoy it. Tomorrow I might have some salad. The weekend I might be at a party and a plate of sandwiches goes by and I think I'll have a couple of those and I enjoy them, and the plate goes around again. I go, no, I'm good, thanks. That's literally as much as I think about sandwiches. If you are thinking about alcohol more than that, then there's an issue there. So the sheer fact that you ask the question, because the question's very deceptive. I really like drinking wine. It's a part of my leisure, my holidays in restaurants, etc. Here's the thing. If it wasn't a problem, you wouldn't be here asking me the question. So there's more to that question. And I think it's about your perception of what alcohol brings you rather than the reality of alcohol, what alcohol brings you. And I think in terms of alcohol use and going on vacation, it's deeply, deeply embedded. We perceive my vacation will be enhanced and a better experience if I drink alcohol. Now, what I encourage my clients to do is a cost-benefit analysis. And this is one of the best ways to get past the cravings, is what happens when you drink? Like, run that movie through. Like, what happens before, what happens during, what happens afterwards, how do you feel after? Did it meet its promises? Did alcohol, did it enhance it? Or was the cost of the hangover or drinking too much or making an ass of yourself, was the cost actually, did it outweigh any benefits? So the best way to get past cravings is to look at what alcohol actually costs you and whether you're getting a good return on investment. So it's about the sober journey is really about understanding how deep our perception is of what we think alcohol brings us and the reality of if that's true. I'm going to say that you will have a much better time on vacation, not drinking. Having a hangover in a hot country is a really horrible experience. Again, it's our perception that it enhances the event rather than reality. So somebody's asked me here, what is your biggest life challenge and how do you address it? So I think they're asking me, like, what was my biggest life challenge? So apart from like being a full-blown alcoholic was probably the biggest life challenge I've ever faced in terms of overcoming that. And I overcame that by, I went to a 12-step program and I got a lot of help. I didn't have many resources. I didn't really have any money at the time. But as soon as I was making money, I did everything. I got therapy, I did workshops, I did work with coaches. I did everything because it's not that I just wanted to be sober. I wasn't prepared to settle for a life that was 50%. I wanted to have a life that was 100%. And that's what I found was happening when I was drinking, was, I wasn't getting arrested. every day. I wasn't even drinking every day, but I had a 50% life. I wasn't fulfilling my potential. I just didn't have the life that I could imagine that was possible for me. And I knew to get that, I needed to get help. So I got a lot of help. But since I got sober, I'd say there's two biggest challenges I faced in sobriety. The first one was when I was about 6 years sober. The day when I had the first date with the man that then became my husband, the next morning my best friend died. And so I had the best thing and the worst thing happening to me exactly the same time. And so that was something that was really challenging. And I never thought about drinking, but I did have this massive realization about the process of grief. At first, my instinct is always to run away from really difficult feelings. Like, I don't want to feel them. I feel like I'm going to drown in them. And I could feel this wave of grief coming towards me. And I had this instinct to run, but I stopped because I knew that experiencing what was going to happen in the next few days, weeks, and months and years really honored our relationship. It really validated it. And it was a big breakthrough for me to realize that I no longer wanted to run away from my feelings. So that was a challenge that I went through that was extremely difficult, but incredibly rewarding when I went through it. And the last thing that was a big, everyone has challenges, I've had lots. These are the two biggest ones, is my youngest son was lead poisoned from the house that we were living in when he was 1 year old, and we had to move out and all this kind of stuff. And as a mother, that was awful. I blamed myself. I had a lot of anger, and I knew that, and I wasn't supporting myself very well at the time. He was only 1 year old. I wasn't very engaged in my sober community. I wasn't doing any of the stuff that I have always done regularly because my kids were really little and I was exhausted, and then this happened. And a few weeks after it happened, I realized that I was fantasizing about self-harm. And I because the pain was so intense in me about what had happened to him. By the way, he's fine. And I started fantasizing about cutting myself. And I realized after a while that I realized very quickly what was happening and that I wasn't okay. So I as soon as I had that realization, I went and got some help, and within just a few weeks I felt back on track. And it was a big learning experience for me, in that it doesn't matter how much sobriety I have, I need to continue to do stuff no matter what's happening in my life that maintains my emotional and mental health. And I just stopped doing it for a while because I thought I was too tired and too busy because I had 2 little children. And the truth was, when I put that first, everything else is okay. And that was a big challenge that I overcame. So that's a little bit about me. How long before I stopped thinking about drinking? That's a good question. I want to say it's different for everybody. At first it feels like it's all the time. I remember when I was drinking, I remember I was dating this guy and we spent the weekend together, and on the Friday night we went out, got drunk. And on the Saturday morning he's like, what do you want to do today? And I was like, what a strange question. Go to the pub, obviously. Like, why would you ask that? And I was like, we'll go to the pub. And he was like, no, like, we did that last night. I was going to do something different. And I was like, what? Like, at the weekend, people do other things apart from like go and party. And we were both looking at each other, and obviously the relationship didn't last very long, where like I couldn't really conceive that there were people who did things that didn't include alcohol. So my life was so saturated with it. So when we first stopped drinking, it just feels like all the time. Just wherever, all the time, because that's our filter system that we've created. Alcohol has attached itself to every area of our life. So it just takes a bit of time. I want to say a year. By a year, it had really, really faded. And then after that, like once in a blue moon, it would come into my head. I can't remember the last time I can't remember the last time I ever thought about drinking. maybe a few years ago it went fleetingly through my head, and because I've created this foundation for sobriety, then what happens is immediately I think of, and then if you do drink, this is what will happen, and that's all done. That whole thought process is done in like 5 seconds. But I mean, I never, the only time I think about drinking is if I ever kind of notice if I'm around people who are drinking too much, I just think that looks horrible. I just think, like, physically, people just don't look very good when they drink. I mean, alcohol is so bad for us. It really dries out your skin. It just, people don't look good when they drink. They just don't. They look worse. Sorry, I'm just going to say it. And so I just think that looks horrible. Like, it just doesn't look like fun. So that's the only time I ever think about drinking. So I want to say the first year, be prepared. It's probably quite a bit, but it will gradually go down. And I never ever think about like wanting to have a drink. I mean, that doesn't happen. So eventually you can get to that point. And my whole point of telling you that first story is that there's a whole bunch of people who just don't drink, or drink very, very moderately. I really believed everybody drank, everyone drank the same way I did, and that's just how it was. And it's just not true. And you'll find that the world opens up, but just also remember, we have a belief system that's very, very, very ingrained in how we perceive the world to be, and it takes a little while to change that. So if you've got any questions for me, you can put it in the in the comments, and I will see if I have if I'm able to answer them. Okay, someone's asked a question. I've been sober for a year, but still deal with a lot of shame. How do I start to work through that now I have a clear head? That's a really good question, because I think that's universal, that so many of us carry shame and regret for how we've behaved and what we've done and all of that kind of stuff. I know I did. I would have things that would come into my mind that I would just cringe over, that just felt really horrible. So I want to say that that's why working a program is so essential. So the Soberfool program is movement, connection, balance, process, and growth. And process is how we deal with shame. And it's really, all process is understanding ourselves. We sort of become people who run and numb ourselves. What we want to move to is understanding ourselves. And a lot of it is about self-forgiveness, understanding that I wasn't a bad person. I was a very unwell person. So when I was in my drinking career, and I use that term because I didn't drink every day, and I wasn't drunk when I did quite a few of the things that I regret, and probably 50% of the things I regret. I wasn't intoxicated, but it was in that period of my life when I was very disconnected from myself because of my drinking problem. So I stole money, I lied, I deceived, I was inappropriate, I was a manipulator. That's not who I am. I don't do any of those things now. But that's who I become when I become disconnected from myself. So, and I was disconnected from myself, and I was very, very unwell. So that was the first part. The other part was making amends wherever I could. I repaid money I stole. I've apologized to people. I've done my best to make as many things right as I possibly can. That, you know, there's things that I can't change. You know, there's like 2 or 3 people I'd love to see again and really sincerely apologize to them, but I'm unlikely to ever meet them again. So I did everything I could to make sure that I made that stuff right. And that is huge in helping to deal with the shame and the guilt. Because I kept showing, like, people who are bad people, they don't have a conscience. They don't do this stuff. It's not like, that isn't how, you know, people don't have a conscience. They just don't care. So the fact that we have shame shows that we care, it matters. So process is the most important thing with dealing with shame, is understanding why we did it, forgiving ourselves and making amends where we can. So I think I'm just about out of time. It was great to be with you today. I hope to so many of you have joined Soberfool Live. I'm so excited to see you in that program and see you on a call hopefully next week, get to meet you. Please, if you're new, let me know. Everyone else who's thinking about it, reach out if you have questions. We would, again, it's completely confidential. You can make up a name. Nobody has to know who you are. There's no commitment. It's low cost, and it's, you'll see from a lot of the testimonials, it's really made a difference to a lot of people's sobriety. Thank you so much for being here. Take care, and I will see you soon.